All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Emma Martin. I am both the founder and transitional life coach here at Full Range Foundation. And today we have an event that's here to empower our marriages and for veterans and their spouses. But first, I want to say what our mission statement is here and a little bit about me, and then introduce our guests here that are going to be actually leading our discussion today. So, first, our mission is to equip and empower both veterans and their spouses by mitigating the impact of moral injury or wartime trauma, enhancing their psychological, spiritual, and social well being through life transitional coaching and mental health services. Um, we are a team that is a veterans, mix of veterans and both their spouses. And we are continuously growing. What that looks like, we serve now in virtual space, and we have a few locations that we have a few team members there where we're meeting with veteran spouses and veterans to continue reaching them and helping to fill that gap that is missing for them to be equipped and knowing how to handle the challenges that we face. So we understand the challenges we've been in. Our guest today, Brenda, she's still in, she's active duty. My husband just recently retired. So we are now entering into that transitional phase. Well, it's been 10 years, 2 years. So, um, but it feels like it just happened yesterday. So, let me introduce. So the event today is cultivating resilience, discipline and sacrifice, discovering your personal. I'm sorry, that's the next event for what's coming up next. So today, let me introduce Brenda. So Brenda is a senior master sergeant. She is Maxwell Certified Coach with extensive background in military coaching, and is tailored specifically for military couples. Alongside her is her husband, Will McCoy. He is a veteran, a military spouse, and he is a Maxwell certified as well. I'll let them share a few minutes about who they are and maybe a little bit about your story, and then we'll launch into our coaching, which is going to be on stress today and anxiety. So thank you guys again for joining me and being a part of the team. I appreciate your support and help.
Thank you, Emma, and everyone who may be joining with us today. As Emma already said, my name is Brenda, and this is my husband, Will. And today we are going to be talking on stress, but I just wanted to caveat that we're not talking on it because we know it all and because we have it 100% under control. It's more so these are some things that I have found and that we both have found in our relationship as well as at our work, to include today. That has helped us along the way. And so we hope that it can also help anyone who may be listening on the call to stop stress in its tracks instead of allowing it to affect the body in a negative way. And that is our kind of our passion, is to help take any of the information that we have learned or that we've experienced and share it with as many individuals as we can. And Full Range has been an amazing partnership with that, and being able to share the knowledge that we've gleaned through our John Maxwell certification, as well as just life in general. So I'll hand it over to my husband to introduce, so that way he can introduce himself a little bit.
Good morning again. My name is Will McCoy. I am a military veteran, but more so a spouse veteran. I've been a spouse for the last 20 years or so, taking care of my kids through 2 deployments, so I understand what it's like on the other side of the fence as well as on both sides of the fences. The last 10 years, last 12 years, I've focused myself on my professional side of the house as a deputy program manager and a program manager for IT contracts. Spent 10 years at USASOC from the military DoD side. In the last couple of years, I've been up in Washington, D.C. area working for different agencies for the National Institute on Health, doing IT stuff up here. So that's a little background on us. Together, we are actually getting ready to kick off and start our own company, Strategically Empowering. So look for that in the next couple of months. We'll be working with them a lot still because we've been good family friends for a long time, and their foundation is pretty much right up there with what our values are and what we're looking for. So with that, we'll just go ahead and jump into this.
All right, let me go ahead and share a screen.
Sorry, technical difficulties.
All right, so we felt that this picture kind of depicted stress the best. Emma, can you see that on your end?
Yeah.
Okay. And this actually is a great picture of our morning as well. You know, you never can control exactly when stress is going to hit you, but you can kind of utilize and give yourself resources to help you along the way when stress does hit. So that way you can kind of end up more so on the right side of this picture than continuing to be on the left side of this picture.
If you're like me, the left side kind of motivates you to get things done faster, though.
So we're going to be going over our introduction, a little bit more into our introduction, what exactly stress stands for and how it can help you in some ways that you can remember it, and some final tips and takeaways. So we did kind of build a little bit of a slide about us and what we like to do. As Will had already discussed, strategically empowering is kind of what we're going to be kicking off in the next couple of months. And that's all like going to be around encouraging, inspiring, and motivating as many people as we can. I enjoy playing softball. My husband sometimes he doesn't enjoy it as far as being able to come alongside me and help me when it comes to the administrative side. But he's a great partner with that. On the left-hand side, we went to Punta Cana for our 20-year anniversary. We got to go to Punta Cana and enjoy some monkeys. I love monkeys. I have since I was a little kid, so that's the point with the monkeys. We are heavily involved in our church. Faith is a huge foundation of everything that we say and that we do. So the bottom left is just a picture of our youth group, the youth group girls that I'm a small group leader for. In the middle there, you'll see, which is our bread and butter of everything that we believe in, is family. And I'll let my husband kind of introduce our family there in the middle.
So yeah, our family here in the middle, the one right next to the right of me is our son Caleb. He's an inspiring entrepreneur himself. He's actually getting ready to start his own little organization. We're playing around with names right now, but he's very heavily involved in motivating youth, especially his age. He's experienced bullying firsthand. We've had to pull him out of school for it, and then he's outgrown that, and then now realized, has learned some coping mechanisms and stuff, and wants to pass that along to youth to encourage them to be themselves. I think right now what we've settled on now is Aspiring to Be You is the company that we're looking at developing for him, and letting him run with it. We want to build a community. We don't want to build an empire. We want to build a community. So, and in order to do that, we have to do it as a family. To the right of that, or to the left on my side, to the right for you guys, maybe, I don't know. I guess it's to your left because you're looking at it too. It's just like I am. Is my daughter, Haley McCoy. She's she'll turn 21 in February, so she's 20 right now. And then her boyfriend / fiance, off to the right of her, is Alex. We're happy and blessed that he chose her because she's a hard-headed, stubborn, persevering person, just like her mother. And it takes a special person to be able to maintain that and settle them down. And then our passions are our family. Spending time on the boat. It's we're 3 miles away from the Chesapeake Bay here in Maryland, so we like to spend a lot of time outside in the woods. Especially me and my son, we spend a lot of time in the woods. Spend a lot of time on the boat, just out in nature in general. But trying to build that community, trying to figure out how to give that ever elusive work-life balance that everybody talks about. And that's one of the reasons why we're looking at starting our own company and going our own way to help others learn that what's in front of you it's amazing. There's a plethora of opportunities for you, and what's in the past is what to learn from and continue on. Here, go ahead.
The next picture that you'll see where it says leadership goal, that was kind of one of our first John Maxwell presentations that we were able to do together as a couple for one of the Air National Guard units. And it was an amazing experience for us to share our experiences with the other airmen that were in the room, of how they can experience and be able to portray leadership as well within their unit and their circumstances. Above that, you'll see a group picture of Full Range Foundation. Emma and I last year, kind of at Warrior's Quest, we put on a workshop for understanding your values and how to utilize your individual values, bring them into teams, and then also bring them into a group and organization, and without sacrificing your own values. And then lastly, at the top right, we are dog lovers. You see the picture of our Great Dane and then our Jack Russell Beagle mix. You might sometimes hear whining throughout this call because our dogs are out back and they kind of want to always be by our side.
Yeah. And where we complement each other is Brenda's very much of a people person, very much people growth, people development. I'm more the analytical business side of the house. I have a big change management type focused background when it comes to business and things like that. So where she can get you at that level of one-on-one motivating your personal life, I'm there to be the pessimist, I guess you would say. When it comes to the personal side, I'll tell you what you need to know, not what you want to know. But then I also will can help and get things out of your brain from an organizational structure side, from the business side of the house versus the personal side.
All right, so we really felt when it comes to stress, sometimes with your body, and we'll get into a little bit more, your body can kind of go into a fight or flight. And so the first important key concept to remember when you are beginning to feel stressed or in a stressful situation is to start, don't stop, because oftentimes we can become so overwhelmed that we just stop and we don't finish what it is that we need to finish. So the first S is in the power of starting.
Yeah, and to go back a little bit, I don't think we did a good job of introducing what we're actually doing. So Brenda is great at turning words into acronyms and making those into steps from a negative kind of standpoint to a positive standpoint. So what we're doing here is we're taking stress, which is usually equals to bad behavior, bad moods, just not liking something. You usually most time when you associate stress, you associate it with a bad thing. So we want to take stress and turn it into something positive and give tools and techniques and stuff to help turn that what you may see as a stressful, bad situation into something positive.
All right, with stress, one of the key things in psychology today, it was important to bring in the psychological aspect of stress and what it can do to your body. So the first important thing that when it comes to starting, is consciously shifting your thoughts. In the psychology today and in the medical news, it talked about how stress is the body's natural defense against predators and danger. So it can cause your brain to be flooded with hormones that prepares the systems to evade or confront danger. And what we want to kind of help here today is help you take stress and let it be that motivator. Because the body can activate resources within your body that can either help you stay and confront the challenge or get to safety as fast as possible. And I can tell you throughout my life, I've had both sides of these happen, to where I've confronted the challenge. And sometimes it's a lot easier at work to confront the challenge because you have a deadline and you have to get it done and you have people depending upon you. So sometimes you don't have that time frame to think about it. You have to just get it done. However, I would say I am still learning how to actually utilize that at home, because at home, after, the birth of my son, coming back from deployment, there were times to where when I felt stressed or overwhelmed, I shut down, to the point to where I was almost crippled with paralysis, to where I couldn't do anything because I couldn't even start somewhere with completing the task that I needed to get done. And so what we would like to help you take away from here is just to make sure that you start, and that starts by shifting your thoughts. Now, once you start and you shift your thoughts into, you know what, I'm going to get this done, I'm going to let this motivate me to get it done instead of going away. The next important part is utilizing the power of team. And so that's what the T stands for, is for the team. And I love this picture that's on here, because when you buy a puzzle in the store, it has multiple pieces to it. But when you put those multiple pieces together, it creates this beautiful picture. And But at first, the multiple pieces can seem very stressful because you have to put it together. But a lot of times, people who put puzzles together, some people take all of the edges and they put them together first, and then they start one corner at a time. But they start somewhere in putting it together. And so this is just a little bit of research, and I'm not going to read exactly straight from the slides, but this is just a little bit of research that we found when it came to looking at it from a psychological standpoint and with the brain, what exactly it does when you start working together as a team instead of by yourself. One of the things that John Maxwell also ultimately says is teams go above and beyond what they can achieve as an individual. So as an individual, yes, you can achieve something if you start doing it, but you can go above and beyond what you can achieve by looking at the team of individuals that are around you. If you're at work and maybe you only work by yourself, well, look at the people around you. How can you utilize their strengths and what they can help you in accomplishing what it is that you need to do? A mentor that you may have, how can you utilize that mentor to come a part of your team to help you accomplish whatever it is that you need to accomplish? And on the left-hand side, I'll let Will kind of speak to some of that.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, this is something that's actually near and dear to me. As a program manager, I manage a team of 18 IT employees. My number one goal when I first took over the current position I was in is to evaluate the team that I have, understand where they fit in or fit in the mold, and then build them and give them the power to control their own destiny, so to say, because that helps me. It helps alleviate stress from myself, and it encourages and builds that empowerment in others to learn and work together in unison. So teamwork makes the dream work type scenario. I never was that way when I was younger, and then as I've matured in my professional career, it's literally all about the team. It makes your life so much easier, and stress is relief. There's always going to be stress. There's always going to be problems, but if you have a good, solid team together and they can gel and work together, that stress level is a lot lower and it's more positive than negative. But with that, there is things that you need to do. You need to have social support buffers. Social support from college and our colleagues and teammates. They act as buffers against stress. The more people that you put around that are positive, and but yet still skillful, it'll wear off on you. I mean, and I'm a very pessimistic person. My wife's very optimistic. But as a pessimist, I still understand that I need to put optimistic people around me, or else I'm going to go insane because I don't want everybody like me around me, because half the time I don't like myself. So it's better that way. But yeah, so it's important to understand that it's important to identify your team in both your professional and your personal life. In your personal life, put people around you that will tell you what you need to know, not what you want to know. You don't want a bunch of yes people around you. You want people that'll tell you, hey, this doesn't make sense, but here's why. You don't want to just tell you no and walk away, because that adds more stress. But if they tell you no and and gives you a good explanation of why it's saying no, that should not add more stress. It should help alleviate some of that stress, because it gives you a good vision and a good way forward.
Now, sometimes if you do have a team of people that you work with, but they're not exactly a team or what you would call a team, that's another discussion that we can have for another day, because there are ways and tools that you can utilize to help your team work more cohesively together. So we could have that discussion at a later time frame, but research shows that when you work together as a team with individuals that you trust and that you support, then you end up going above and beyond what you originally would have been able to. And also the statistics show that you actually have increased job satisfaction, and you continue staying on the path of within your job or within your family when you have a team of individuals support around you.
Yeah, and from a personal standpoint, the business that we're getting ready to start, we had a conversation last week, and we set everybody down and said, hey, this is a team effort. This isn't a me effort. This isn't a you effort. This is an us effort. And if we're not all on board, our son included, then we're not doing this. Nobody does it. And that's that teamwork from everywhere. So in your personal life and your family life, your kids are, if you have kids, your kids are part of your team. Yeah, you may see them not as equals because we're still trying to develop them and learn them. At some point, they're equals. They turn 18. Unfortunately, they're adults. They do what they want to do. They need to be part of your team. So building that rapport and building that team type atmosphere with leadership structure, because somebody's always going to have a boss. So even your children are going to have a boss when they get older. So you're the CEO of the family, but you guys are a team. So you try to make decisions as a team. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes it has to be trumped by the boss. So that's the whole concept of that, is make sure that you try to do everything in your life as much as possible as a team. Because even though I don't necessarily like a whole lot of people around me, if I don't have a handful of people that can tell me the right things to do or the wrong things to do, I'll go the wrong direction in a heartbeat.
Now, I will say for some of you who may be listening that are out there, if you are an introvert and you said, I don't like working with people, I don't like being around people, I'd rather work by myself, this is especially important for you as well, because as an introvert, you still can't accomplish everything that you want to accomplish by yourself. And my husband—
I'm an introvert, 100% through and through, introvert, but I can still people. It just wears the crap out of me.
And that's where it's important. And we'll get into this a little bit later, to where you understand the strengths and the weaknesses of each individual. And that kind of puts together the team aspect.
Yeah, I was going to add too, Brenda, for you can move on to the screen, but I'm an extrovert, if nobody knows that's watching. But I actually work as an individual. I'm more individual focused in my work. So I will do a lot of pieces by myself and then I'll bring it to the team. So you have to know who you're working with the space, and in the home, especially because I have children and you know who you are by how you say it, your language. I or we, that is huge. If your child or your coworker, whoever, whatever context, is saying that, that's their focus. They want to know how we show up. Where I'm like, well, individual, how do you show up as an individual? So yeah, just wanted to add that in there.
And
Yeah,
that's
thank you,
that's a learning curve for everybody. I'm a very much I say just I don't sometimes don't filter stuff. So I say I a lot, but it's not, but I don't mean I mean we, but it comes out as I. So you have to understand that too about people. Sometimes somebody will say I, but they're talking as a team versus themselves. And it's hard. I have to stop myself and like we. I've done a lot better job at it recently. But it's always been my kids or my this or I did this instead of we or us. But that's just my brain doesn't work and function as a normal person's brain. So, but it's not. But that doesn't mean it's not hurtful to somebody else. Because like when I say my kids or my stuff, and Brenda's like, "What about ours? It's ours. It's ours." I'm like, "Yeah, I understand. Sorry."
Yes, I am very we centric, and at times at work, there are time frames to where I have to be an I person and do an individual piece or accomplish something individually, but you can still bring the team aspect in on the back end with you and acknowledge that when it comes to bringing forth what it is that you have to accomplish. And that's where we get into our next one. So we talked about starting, making sure you start, don't stop. We talked about the importance of team, and we spent a little bit extra time on the team aspect because it is so pivotal and so important in the overall success of whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. So this next piece that we're going to get into is helpful resources. And this is where it is very important for you to understand who you have around you and their strengths and their weaknesses, because the resources that I have or that I know of may be more so found in an individual person that I know or somebody that I have connected with. And so understanding where you can find some of those helpful resources is important. My husband was a huge help on this piece of it because I am not a great researcher when it comes to the web looking stuff up, because it has to be certain words. I feel like it has to be certain words that have to be looked up on the web, but for him, it's more natural. So utilizing the team aspect when it comes to the resources piece.
Yeah, so I mean, shameless plug for us. One of our core foundations for our company that we're making up will be personal coaching, personal and professional coaching. So we are much like Emma does with coaching as well. We are going to be focused around a lot of that as well, motivational coach or motivational speaking, organizational development, things like that. Professional coaching is one of those things. I personally have full autonomy. I don't like people for the most part, but I'm a very people person. But as an introvert, I don't want to be around people. I don't want to socialize with people. So I have a small, really small, tight set of friends, and everybody else is acquaintances. Where my wife, as the extrovert, has a ton of friends and only a few acquaintances. So, but with that, I don't like to talk my feelings. I don't like to talk my stresses. I don't like to talk through things with other people. I want to internalize it. I want to do that. But I found by working with Emma, actually, because we are a lot alike, except for she's the extroverted. I'm the introverted version of Emma as the extrovert. She tells me what I need to know, not what I want to know. You don't want, some people need to know or need somebody there to be a cheerleader and to coach them up and lift them up and be positive all the time. Others, like myself, I need somebody there to tell me, hey, this is what you need to do. I know you don't want to do this, but this is what you have to do type scenario. So that's where that professional coaching comes in, because as a professional coach, we're taught how to identify that in people and then shift our focus in how we are communicating with you or asking questions to you to ask yourself questions, how to address that, how to approach that on an individual basis and in a group settings. Like I said before, my wife's very much in that team, bigger group settings. She can get into the individual settings as well. She loves the one-on-one conversations. Me, on the other hand, I'm not a very much. I can do the one-on-ones, especially if you need somebody that's like me that's going to tell you what you need to know, not what you want to know. But I'm very good at the group dynamics, the team building, the coaching as a team, and how to positively encourage your team members and identify their strengths and weaknesses and build that in unison. So that's that one.
So in February, before he goes on, in February, I actually started a new job, and I have the opportunity to work in a joint environment. So it's Army and Air. And working in that environment, I am the only Air component within that team. And so starting on that team, I had to really utilize this concept of looking at the resources that I had around me, because it wasn't me with a whole bunch of individuals around me who was familiar with all of the knowledge that I had been privy to in my previous jobs. It was myself with some knowledge, and then there's contractors, there's a GS employee, and then there's Army components. So I had to look at, okay, what are the resources that I have around me, whether that's reading in regulations or if that's people or asking questions. And so the question that we really have to ask ourselves is, there's resources all around us at our fingertips, especially with the internet. There's, still the library and that, but in stressful situations, why do we fail to utilize them? When I thought about this question, the one thing that came up to my mind is because when you're stressed and your brain is already utilizing all of its energy within that stressful situation, you can get into where almost like a sense of paralysis. And so your brain is looking, instead of looking at the environment around, it's kind of looking through a tunnel, and it may not be able to see the resources that are available. And so John Maxwell, one of the things that he says is be on the lookout for every resource that a new environment has to offer. And I'll go ahead and let Will finish kind of talking about some of these resources that you can have as well.
Yeah, and if you're a technical person and you're an introvert like me, mindful meditation and apps. There's apps for that. I mean, it's hilarious. I mean, there's an app for everything now. Utilize it if you like tech. Everybody has a phone on 24/7 almost, unless you're working in a skiff. I worked in those environments too, so I understand you can't have a phone in a skiff. But that's where that quick relief comes into. Deep breathing exercises. Get up, stretch your legs, walk around the cubicles a little bit, walk around the skiff a little bit. Stretching, listening to music is a great thing. I focus better when I have music on, and depending on the situation, depends on the music I have. And it's not for the actual lyrics of the music, it's for just the noise, the white noise, the background noise. If I need to buckle down and get things done, I'll actually listen to like heavy metal type music, which I'm not really a heavy metal type person, but just that loud in your face allows me to get energized and do things. But if it's more of a, analytical thinking, deep diving, writing a paper, something like that, I'll listen to like classical music, something that just has noise, but it allows my brain to turn that side off and focus on anything. Little side story, I'm ADHD, so that the reason why that helps a lot too is because it stops that side of my brain from going crazy. But you'll learn that over time over yourself and identify that and use that as a strength, not as a weakness. I don't use my ADHD as a weakness at all. I mean, it's what got me to where I'm at today, and it's a superpower in my opinion. So I leverage everything I possibly can to help me better that. And support groups, you have to have somebody. You don't have to have a bunch of people. I mean, if you're my wife, you need a bunch of people. But if you're like me, you need somebody. Like my wife is my support group. Now, if my wife can't, then I speak to my coach. My coach is my support group. They're the person that's going to tell me what I need to know. But you have to find somebody. You know, like in the Air Force, we have wingmen. In the Army, you have battle buddies. You have to have a battle buddy. You have to have a wingman, wing lady, wingmen, whatever you want to, wing them, they die. But you have to have somebody.
And that's what's the importance of building a community. Now, Emma, I know you have done a lot of research when it comes to the different functions of the brain and the neuroscience behind it. So why would you say that even though we have all the resources around us in stressful situations that we fail to utilize them?
Well, it's definitely the hyper focus is coming because I don't know all the technical terms. I just know that when the stressors hit in the environment, and it's more than likely in the military culture, it's at higher levels, at constant states, at durations, um, you do get used to it. But I think when stuff starts to settle down, I think that's when you realize like you found yourself and your brain and your body and everything started coping in different ways of handling it. So I think in those moments that you become paralyzed because you're stuck in that hyper focus, and that the signals in your mind is just that's all it's only going there, and we call it the hijacking when you get stuck in that story, and then you find all the supporting arguments, all the things of reason, say stress, all the reason why life is horrible and it's going bad, if you wanted to take it and go into that realm. um so in those moments, I know working with clients specifically, your what's happening in that storyline that you're telling yourself in these high stress level scenarios, you have to find a new story. And you usually have to do those in calm moments with people like Will was saying, with a coach or a therapist or a support or friend. And you actually have to start building, like John Maxwell said, your environment. How does your environment support the new story? So my clients will put sticky notes on their walls, and they have to put them everywhere, every room, until they have learned to start walking through themselves to taking these exercises and putting them into practice. Because I think it takes up to, well, one of the books says like 61 days, as you're
Yeah.
building new neural pathways, because your old ones, they call them deadened, or they're stifled. They're not working any longer if there's any type of trauma. And in the military construct, we know that that's happens. That's why you have a lot of anger and explosion outbursts in the military homes. So when we're talking about the best question to say, how do we support marriages of military families in the environment, is what is your environment saying? You need to take an assess.
And what, in my like in my opinion, I think most people do not realize how much their childhood played into their initial way they react and respond to things. Then throw that on top of that, the stresses of military life and deployments and things like that. If you never work through your childhood traumas, and then you now have new traumas from the military side of the house, you're just a walking, powder keg type scenario, and have to be able to identify those and not see those as weaknesses, but figure out how to use those as growth and to grow from that and to or power through your life.
And
I'm really big on this. I'm really bad at this one. I grew up thinking I was a failure, just because I was ADHD as a child, and that was a bad thing back then. Back then, it was a disease. It wasn't an actual ability. So I've always felt that I'm a failure at everything. So I can't start anything. I can't do anything. But over the last year or so, I finally got my head out of my butt, and because people being forcefully and telling me what I need to know, not what I want to know.
Right.
But again, I still quit every day, but I don't actually quit. I just say I quit and then
And
keep going.
and we do realize that in stressful situations, especially if it's at work or if it's at home, you don't have all of the time and the energy to be like, oh, what resources can I use right now? So the quick relief that we kind of put over here, one of the ones that I wanted to comment on, and Emma, you kind of commented on it as well, is the gratitude practice. So when you find yourself in that stuck moment, if you can think about something that you're thankful for, whether it's if you're in a stuck moment. For me, my overwhelming or stuck moments came to my house. When I came back from deployment, when you're used to a smaller section that you have to take care of in a smaller environment that you're working in, and then you come back from deployment and now all of a sudden you have this huge environment that you now have to work within and function in. It can create a stuck or an overwhelming environment. So in that case, if it's your house, like for me and my house, I can just say, you know what, thank you that I have a house. Thank you that I have clothes that may be on the floor that's overwhelming me, turning it into, instead of a stressful, overwhelming piece, turning it into something that you're thankful for. And this is where it's important to have a support team around you, because my first deployment, my husband learned that how I can get into that stuck environment. And so my second deployment, when I came back, it was the best thing that he did was, instead of bringing me home right away, he actually brought me to a hotel. And the hotel, obviously the room is clean and everything is put away. So I was able to operate within that hotel room, which was a little bit bigger than the space that I had to utilize before I came home. Now he may look at it something different, but I know for me that was a huge thing that I was thankful for. So first, when you're stressed or when you're starting to feel those bodily emotions of being stressed, make sure you look at the team that you can build up around you. Make sure you look at your resources and utilize the support groups, the quick relief, mindful meditation apps, and professional coaching.
And understand those around you and how they cope with stress. Me, I'm an internalizer. I have to shut myself off from everybody at first to work through my own thoughts before I can communicate with others. My wife is not. She's very much a vomit her opinions immediately and emotions immediately, which to me as an internalizer is hard to understand and accept. So you got to learn how to just turn that off, because I always want to fix everything. So I got to figure out how to turn that fixing off and just be like, okay, yes, I've learned to just, yes, whatever you say, honey. And then she asked me what I say, and I'm like, I have no clue. I was letting you get your stresses out.
Go ahead,
you're
Emma.
communicating. So I think we did this in coaching with a couple, the communication styles and knowing that, and knowing deciding how you're going to handle different seasons that are going to be higher stress. It can alleviate that baseline of how you normally respond to high levels of stress. So that's what you're always looking for. So how are you communicating it? And are you telling your person, I think I heard it's not really you're supposed to be 50-50. It's really you're supposed to walk in your door and the husband's supposed to be like, I'm 80 today. And the spouse is like, well, I'll take the, or they'll say I'm 20 and then they'll say I'll take the 80. What if you're both the 20, what if you both come in at negative? Well, at that point, it doesn't really matter. Just, are we communicating we're at a negative state? Like right now, this is where I'm at. Let's just lay it on the table. I think honesty is just huge. So yeah.
That's a big thing that's helped us, especially recently. It's like we've had a lot of change in the last 5 years or so. And to get through that, it's better communication, understanding when, even though you want to fix something, you can't fix it. You just gotta step back and let them be. Now, at the same time, don't let your spouse go into a deep state of anything. You have to, give them the encouragement and advice in their own way, not in your way, in their way, to get them out of that funk. Sometimes you have to divert to yourself, and then they snap out a little bit better. But
And, last week, this was a perfect example. And like I said at the very beginning, us coming in here and delivering this ST.R.E.S S and it being an acronym to give you better tools and resources does not mean that we're subject matter experts in it. It just means that we wanted to share some of our life experiences with others who may be going through this as well. But I will share, just last week, I was in a stressful moment to where I got up, and instead of just kind of going for a walk, or just doing something that I know relaxes me, I immediately started cleaning, or I immediately started doing something. I became like very, as my husband calls it, pinging. And my husband made a comment and he said, you need to go outside and go for a walk, or, just go outside, because outside it opens up the environment and it's very natural and serene to me. And it was in that moment, it wasn't right at that moment that I realized how much that was helpful, but it was later when I told him that, hey, just like how, when he gets in his moments and he's cleaning, he's cleaning not because I did something wrong or because I didn't do it. It's because of the state of his mind, and to just come up and give him a hug in those moments. And so in the same sense with him, for me, it is, him realizing and speaking outside, out in the environment, that, hey, why don't you go outside? Why don't you go walk outside? And that helped stop me in my tracks to realize, okay, wait a minute. And this is where the E kind of comes into the play of stress. And we have several different E's that kind of play along within this. And that's you evaluate, okay, where are you at now in your level of stress? Where are you at bodily wise? Where are you at team wise with your resources? Where are you at? And once you know and understand where you're at, now you can better understand, okay, what is it that I need to equip myself with now at this point that I'm out of this stuck mindset? And what can I equip those who are around me with? And once you're able to equip, then you can better execute and bring that encouragement to the whole team perspective in order to get the job done that you need to get done.
Yeah, and we really should have put another arrow on here that pulls encourage, but all the way back up to evaluate, because stress is a cyclical cycle. It's always going to be there. You're always going to have some stressors in your life, but it's just rinse and repeat the same evaluation. So you evaluate what's causing the stress. You equip yourself on how to get over that stress. Sometimes stress is positive. Like I said, I do my best work when I'm stressed out, but that's not a fearful stress. That is a deadline stress. Motivated stress. ADHD. I like to do everything at the last minute. It's fun. But and you learn that. You'll learn what you can do last minute. You'll learn what you do not ever want to do last minute. But that's where you equip yourself, and then you execute what you equipped to try to get yourself out of that, or get through that situation. And then you encourage yourself not to fall back into that cycle again. But if you do, then you evaluate again. And then same with your team and members around you. The encouragement is real big when it comes to teams, because everybody stresses out over different things. But as long as you're encouraging, then it's better. And I'm, like I said, very much a pessimist. I always plan for the worst and hope for the best. But I've learned that even me, words of affirmation, words of encouragement, in certain situations are amazing. They actually help you. They actually help you get through things. You cannot look through everything in a negative manner, or else you go to a deep, dark place. So you have to have people around you that are giving you encouraging words, especially if you're not a motivational type person. If you don't typically use motivational terms and terminologies and stuff like that, you need somebody in your life like a Brenda that'll give you those, and it's always bubbly and roses and rainbows for the most part. She can get other ways as well, but we all can.
Know what kind of people you need cheering you on, because I think we worked out one time, me and Brenda, and I was like, nope, that's not me.
Yeah.
I don't need that type. I need the opposite type. Don't tell me, just tell me to pick it up and go. Okay.
And it's situational too, because there's some situations I guarantee you find yourself in that you need somebody like that's very encouraging, very motivating, very uplifting and stuff. But that's where you learn yourself over time, like in a work environment versus a personal environment, in a stressful situation that's you can control versus a stressful situation you can't control. That is where that comes in. And again, we're not all going to be perfect at it. We never will be, but you learn over time, and especially if you form in teams and you get that good bonding with your team, you'll understand 75% of the time when to say the right thing. You're always going to say the wrong thing 25% of the time. It just happens. See, that's me trying to be positive. That's me trying to be positive instead of 50-50.
All right, so now that we went through the evaluate, equip, execute, and encourage, and we're not going to read through each one of these, you now have to look at the standards. What are the standards for whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, whether that's at work or it's at home? And some of the ways to try and figure out these standards is through clarity and predictability, goal setting. What is the goal that you're trying to get to? Looking at that work-life balance and what your standards are. You can also interchange this word with values. What are your values of how you need to get this accomplished? Because sometimes if you're a perfectionist, you're not going to be able to get something accomplished with the time frame in a perfectionist way, because you don't have that much time in order to get it accomplished. We run across this in the military all the time. So what is the standard that your leadership is telling you? I want this done to this standard. And so figuring out how to accomplish it in that way with your team, with the resources, and with what you've been able to be equipped with up to that point.
Yeah, pretty much good. I mean, and like the big thing that I could talk on for hours is the work-life balance with this. So you see here, goal setting, effective production, productivity stuff, but work-life balance. Everybody has a different definition of work-life balance. Some people are 100% happy going to work for 8 hours, hitting the same button over and over and over again because they can spend the rest of the day with their family when they get off of work. Some people can't. Some people, can separate work from family. Some people can't. What I highly encourage everybody, and I know it's hard for some folks while they're in the military, but once they get out of the military, your second career, like I like to tell you, find something that you're passionate about for your work as well, because work-life balance you shouldn't separate work and life. Work and life are one and the same. You only have 24 hours in a day. You're only awake on average 16 to 17 hours a day. If you're spending 8 hours a day at a location, add an hour for driving, so 9 hours a day, you've just lost half of your awake time to work. So you better like work. You better like what you do. You better think that it brings value and meaning to your life. If you don't, reevaluate. Find a different solution. I'm in the middle of that right now myself, is reevaluating work-life balance, where for so long we've been taught that, hey, you go to work, you work for somebody, you do your time, you come home, you do then that's your freedom or whatever like that. Work, life separate. But yeah, that balance is making sure that they're one and the same.
And with the military, again, this can sometimes be hard. I found as I learned more about myself that I love to encourage people, because when I am able to encourage people, it encourages me. And I love to teach. Before I came back on active duty, and that was something Emma kind of spoke on. I've been in the military for 21 years total now, and that's been a little bit of active, reserve, and guard. Now I'm currently active. But within that, I was like, okay, how can I take teaching and encouragement and incorporate it into my day-to-day work? Because I can't go and teach, everyone. That's my job currently right now. I've been very blessed. I'm currently the superintendent of joint education and training. So I am in a position to where I can utilize both of these aspects. But when I was not in a position to where I could utilize my heart and my passion, I got creative. And in 2019, it was the height of COVID. I decided to one day just go on Amazon and order these encouragement cards or encouragement pogs. And I started putting them in individual keyboards, or going up to people and say, would you like to pick a card, any card? And because of the expression and the response from individuals who actually got those cards or picked those cards, that's why I've continued to do it up until even the current work center that I'm in right now, because so many people have said, you don't know how much I needed this today. And that's just a quick, I'm going to grab a couple of or grab a stack of cards. I'm going to go walk and get my coffee, or go walk to another section. And when there's people, say, hey, would you like to pick a card, any card? So something's so small in that I know that I'm passionate about. So find out what you're passionate about, what helps to motivate you, and that can help get you through that stressful time frame or that work, that job that you may not necessarily like in this current moment.
Yeah, and another shameless plug for our future organization that we're starting here. We're going to be offering things just like that. What would Brenda do? You know, type scenario. So we'll have encouraging cards, we'll have encouraging candles and things like that. I mean, we're I'm because I'm a little ADHD, we're going like we're trying to go big or go home type scenario because we see the value of it. And we see that positivity. I've lived my entire life as a pessimist. I grew up a rough life or a rough childhood, and things have always been there, but I've always been able to get through things. And I wouldn't have been able to get through things the last 21 years if it wasn't for Brenda. I'd be in a bad situation right now, probably because I put myself around people that I needed to put myself around, not who I thought I wanted to put myself around. But that's what we're trying to do too, is we're trying to build that community and give everybody that avenue, and, working with different nonprofits and things like that to encourage people, to motivate people to be themselves.
And the last thing that we're going to talk about before moving on to this next slide is being able to, as Will said, that work-life balance. Standards, when you create standards for yourself personally and professionally, that can help you maintain a healthy work-life balance and helping you have those clear boundaries between your work and your personal life. And that in turn will help you be more efficient and more productive in whatever it is that you're trying to get accomplished.
Yeah, and me and with this, a lot of this was one last thing on this one, like goal setting. I'm horrible at goal setting. I mean, I can set goals and long-term goals out there and out, but I'm horrible at actually like building the path to those. Brenda's really good at it. Time management. Brenda doesn't really do well with time management. I understand
work stuff I do.
Yeah, or yes, time. So time management as a perception of real time versus not, or versus how much time they think they have to do something. I'm very much a person that can be like, this is going to take this long. You don't have time to do this. So that's where that balance and finding that person, there's people to put around yourself to do that, because none of us are good at all these alone, but together we can build a team that somebody is great at one of these things or multiple of these things. And you leverage that team as a community versus an individual to set those goals, set those standards, and basically de-escalate stress for everybody.
That's true. Carrying the weight.
And our last S that we're going to get to today, and then wrap it up, is succeed. So when you're at a stressful moment or you're starting to feel like you're stressed out, and you start you put a step forward to say, I'm not going to let this break me down. I'm going to start by doing something, looking at the team around you, looking at how you can build a team around you to help you accomplish whatever you need to accomplish, looking at your resources, as far as what you can bring apart to help you accomplish what you need to accomplish, evaluate, encourage, equip, and get those standards. That is when you can succeed and there's less stress than what you started out with. But the most important thing is to never give up. Don't let yourself give up, and don't let others give up either. If you begin to notice the signs and the symptoms of stress, sometimes the sweaty palms, sometimes your heart beating super fast, or you can tell in your breathing is starting to increase. Those are some of the signs and symptoms that you are beginning to get stressed or nervous or have that anxiety. If you notice it within yourself, then you can begin to notice it in other people, and you can help them, give them these tools and resources, and come alongside them so that way they aren't stuck. Because it's not about I and succeeding, it's about coming together as a community and as a team to succeed. And that's the only way, military, personally, professionally, that you're going to be able to continue walking a successful life.
Yeah, and from my side of the house, the half empty side, start is the most important thing. You have to start, because stress and anxiety are one and the same. Stress causes anxiety, anxiety causes stress. So you have to try to alleviate some of that factor in there to basically have that life balance. But you have to start. You can't just say, "Oh no, I'm good. I can get through this. Oh no, I'm good. I can get through this. I can do this on my own. I can do this on my own." No, you have to start. You have to bring in a team. You have to have resources. And sorry, our dogs are going nuts all of a sudden. Yeah, so it's all important. But yeah, start.
And you're not going to get it perfect every time. I've gone through seasons in my life, fitness wise, after having surgeries or after having kids, to where I was successful previously, fitness wise, as far as working out, being regimented, and going to work out. And then I've gone through seasons to where I need somebody to come alongside me and to do it with me, in order to create that rhythm, to get it done. So don't beat yourself up when you fail to accomplish some of these things to get through that stressful time frame. If there's anything that you remember out of any of this, is, as Will was saying, is start. Don't stop. And like to open it up if there's any questions.
I think a question would be, which I would ask myself these questions too, but in those moments, what's one question or solution, something that they could do in that moment? I know we kind of touched on it, but like, because if you say start, so what does start look like? Like, me, I'm big on questions.
You
Like,
can go back to the quick relief. What are you thankful for?
okay, so I'm in the moment, levels of stress, it's to the roof. I need to ask myself, what is one thing I could be grateful for? I think we've before.
Yeah. What can I control now?
And if you're a thinker like I am, start to me is just identifying that you're stressed. Why am I stressed? What just caused this? Why am I pinging for? Why am I at this elevated, blood pressure level? What is going on? And that's the trigger to start the process of how to work through the stresses, because you're not going to resolve stress instantly. So these steps here, it could take 5 minutes. It could take 5 days, depending on what the situation is, because every stress is different. But the big thing is the start is being self-aware to be able to stop and realize that you're going in the wrong direction, that stress, that something is taking you out. Because stress, to most people, and to including to me, like I thrive off of stressful situations when it comes to like deadlines and stuff, but that's different than being in an environment that's very stressful and I can't control. I'm a very much a controlling person. I'm not a controlling person, but I like to control what's going on around me, or at least to have some kind of semblance of what's going on. And if I don't have any control of that, or if I don't have a good understanding of what is trying to be accomplished, then it stresses me out. But I've learned over the years to be able to stop and be like, all right, is this really worth being stressed over? And what can I do to help alleviate some of the stress?
And breathe.
And breathe.
I've was thinking about some of the different situations that I've been in. When I went to a concert, it was within a week or two after I had gotten back from deployment, and I went to a concert with my daughter, and it was in, like, obviously a huge coliseum, and there were a lot of people that was around, and it was a Christian concert, and I had to make a decision, as I in that moment was stressed because there were so many people around, and the room kind of like started spinning in a little bit of ways because there was so much. I had to think, okay, am I going to this be ruined, for the rest of the night for my daughter, or am I gonna get myself together? And so for me, I just started focusing on my breathing. How was my breathing in that moment? And then giving myself clear goals to begin putting my steps forward, so that way my environment, what didn't seem so overwhelming at that time frame.
Yeah, and I've learned over the years that the deep breath exercises are actually you don't realize how good they actually are. Close your eyes, ignore everything, take 5 long, deep breaths, filling your lungs up from the bottom up, not from just normal breaths, but like breathe. Like I played saxophone when I was a kid. So, in band, they teach you to breathe at the bottom of your lung up. So breathe to your stomach. So those deep stomach breaths, 5 long ones, and with the deep inhales and then the deep exhales, it's amazing how that rush of oxygen to your brain, because that's what it's doing. It's basically giving pure oxygen to your brain at that point, helps those endorphins and stuff, and it helps you calm down and allows you to think a little clearer, for at least momentarily clearer, to start that process.
Yeah, that's good. So our environments all play as indicators to knowing what can, put extra pressure on us to cause more stress. I think knowing our bodies, what our bodies are saying. I like to know, okay, my thoughts, like where did this thought come from? Or, I usually do that. And then, of course, feelings. And then, we always know that somebody says something that we may not agree with. That could be an indicator that they may know something about how you're responding in certain circumstances. Because, like Brenda said, I think it was a big point. You get so narrowed in on that you just don't see what's happening around you, and you get stuck there. And you do sometimes occasionally need those people to be like, what happened? Where'd you go? Like,
Yeah, sometimes you got the best for everybody is to give yourself that time away, so to say. Like me, if I get into a very stressful situation, if I have the time to be able to do it, I'll internalize it. I will just walk away, go find a quiet spot someplace, or go clean, or do something completely opposite, which, like me and cleaning aren't really that big of a thing until it really stresses me out, and then I do it. But it's that hyperfixation type thing. But find something that is easy to hyper focus on for a short period of time, to get your mind off of what you were focusing on. Because a lot of times you just got to have that disconnect. If you can disconnect from the situation that's stressing you out, when you re-engage that stressful situation, you realize that it really wasn't stressful. It was self-inflicted, and this is what you need to do to be able to fix this.
So you got to interrupt it. So find
Yeah,
ways to.
exactly.
Yes.
Good.
Well, thank you, Emma, for allowing us to come on and just kind of share some of the tools and the resources that have helped us individually, as well as a couple personally and professionally, while we've had this military experience and with our own kids as well. For those who are listening or who may listen to this at some point, if you are interested in finding out more information, or you would like to sign up for coaching, please definitely reach out to us at brenda.mccoy at strategicallyempowering.com, or will.mccoy at strategicallyempowering.com. And of course, you guys all know the Full Range Foundation website that Emma and the nonprofit has as well.
Yeah, there's so many resources out here. Again, thank you guys for all you guys do. We believe definitely in community, or we wouldn't be having you guys here sharing what you've learned. You guys bring lots of value to the home front, and I think that's really important as we continue to not only heal the generation that we're in, our own, and also prepare the next generation for the things we know that they're going to encounter. Our children. So yeah, thank you guys. If you need anything, you can visit fullrangefoundation.com or email me at fullrangefoundation@gmail.com. I hope you guys have a great evening, and we will see you next time. Bye.
That's fair. And stop.
Stop recording. Yeah.
That's something.